Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we are going to be taking this area and transforming it into a battle arena powered by Mob Farm. If you're thinking this is something that I've already done before, you would be correct. A couple of months ago, I did a video on a battle arena that was built over an ocean and powered by 4 mob farms. It also had beacons, which were set up with a timer to slowly add effects to the player. That video had a lot of comments with some great suggestions, and so today we are going to be incorporating some of those suggestions into a new battle arena, along with some ideas and things that I learned from building the first one. I have a goal of reaching 2,500 subscribers before the end of the year, and I need your help to do that. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, like the video, or leave a comment, or share it with a friend. And if I hit 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year, I will start releasing schematics of every build that I do for free. All right, let's get back to the video. For this new and improved battle arena, we are going to be building it in this area right here, and you will see that I've got this pillager outpost in the very center, because this time I want to incorporate some pillagers. The other major difference that we are going to be doing with the battle arena today versus what we did last time is that instead of building it up in the air, we are going to build it down near bedrock, which means we need to clear out a bunch of blocks. But since we're not in survival, that should be relatively easy to do, because we can enter a world edit command like this and clear out all of that space. Maybe. Is there a little bit of lag? So trying to clear out that many blocks crashed the world, and this is a copy. We are going to try it again, but this time we are not going to try to get rid of as many blocks all at once. So let's try it with this one, and what is going to happen? 798,000 blocks, and those are all cleared out. That's much better, although there was still a little bit of a lag spike there. So the first thing that we need to work out is what the radius of the arena needs to be, so that way when the doors open, the mobs will immediately lock on and start targeting the player. So I've set up a little bit of an experiment, and we are going to start by testing out skeletons with this dispenser here. So let's see what happens. I'm now in survival mode, and if we press this button, will the skeleton see me? Yes. Automatically, he comes over and starts shooting. Next up, we're going to try it with creepers, and it looks like the creeper is just not locking on right away, so that is probably too far for what we're looking for. And we're going to try it with the zombies, which obviously they are going to lock on right away. The first dispenser we were testing was 15 blocks away. If we go to the next one, that is 10 blocks away, and let's see what happens with the creepers. So that automatically goes right towards targeting us. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So this arena is going to be much smaller than the last one that we had, and that is going to make the fighting way more intense. Before we start working on adding in the mob farms, I want to work on getting the system created for the pillagers to get from up here to down in the arena. I've put in a platform up above, and we're going to see whether or not pillagers are going to be spawning. If I'm all the way down here in the arena, there are no pillagers. Now that I'm on the same level as the platform, we seem to be getting some pillagers over here. And what happens if I go down? So I'll drop the player, and if I keep this up here, do they disappear? Yep, they disappear. So my player is down at the bottom level, and up here you can see we are getting pillagers on this layer here, even though I'm all the way down there. This is a good sign. I've added in a few more layers, and we are getting a ton of pillagers. This is excellent. We are just going to need to figure out a way to get them from up here down to there. So here is my first thought. What if we use powdered snow covered by carpets? So if we place the water here in the center, let's see what happens to the pillagers. They are going to drop down, and is that pillager going to land on it? He is. All right. This is a good thing. So it looks like what we could do with these is just have dispensers that are triggered to send the water, and that would push the pillagers off just like it would be in a mob farm, and then they would just land on the powdered snow and not have any damage. But I think the problem that we are going to have is that if there is a creeper explosion, that is going to cause all of the carpet to go away, which would then mean that the powdered snow is exposed, which would mean that the player or any mobs would just sink right through. If we were to use waterlogged slabs, what would happen with a creeper explosion? Nothing. All right, will the pillagers survive if they try to land on that? That's the real question. We'll place some water here and see what happens to these pillagers. They are falling down and they all die. Of course, we couldn't have an easy solution to this problem, so I've increased the width. Let's see whether or not they will survive with that. Place in the water there, and we've got them going down. They're dropping, and yes, they survive with that. And what happens with a creeper? All right, the chests survive. The only thing is, this creates a bit of a situation for the player. I guess it'll just add to the difficulty. The next thing that we're going to add up here are some dispensers, so that way we can dispense water and have these guys get pushed off. And then we'll need to place in some observers to power the dispensers. And once those are in place, this observer will be powered and it will cause the water to go out on all of the different levels, sending all of our pillagers down to our platform. And apparently killing some of them. That's not good. So I'm just going to pretend like nothing is wrong and get the timer set up so that we can test this out. We should start to see everything get dispensed, and then as the clock goes around, it will be undispensed and back and forth. And that should be good. Now, we're not just going to be fighting pillagers. We are also going to have a system which is going to allow raids to be triggered. And for that, what we are going to do is create a little station down here with a composter. We're going to put a villager in here, and this villager is all we are going to need to trigger a raid. I've been doing a little bit of testing against the pillagers, and you can see the arrows that they've left in me. I'm going to drink this ominous bottle now and see whether or not we can trigger a raid. We've had the potion, and this is not looking good. Oh, okay. It looks like the potion has a timer, and once that goes down, that's when the raid starts. Okay. That's good to know. Where are they going to spawn, I wonder? I hope in this circle. Otherwise, we could... Okay. It looks like they end up on those platforms. I was not anticipating this. Oh, and look at how many guys are up here. Oh, that's so many. So I turned the water on. I wonder if that will keep them from spawning up on those platforms. This will be our moment of truth. As soon as that bar fills up, where will they go? Well, they're not down here. They're not up there. Does that mean that the raid failed? Well, that didn't work at all. But I was able to fix that problem by changing up the timer that is used to trigger the system. So to make this work, I have this timer right here, and this is a hopper clock with a completely filled up hopper, which will last just over 2 minutes. And once it shifts, it'll activate this piston here, which will move this block, triggering this observer, and it will send a pulse through this pulse extender all the way over here to this piston, which will activate the dropper system. And what will happen when it's activated is that it will send out the water, and the water will run for about 6 seconds, which is just enough time to get pillagers from the center of this platform all the way to the end. And I've been using carpets here to help spawn-proof this platform, and the reason why we have a bunch of extra blocks is because the pillagers, when they're going along, if the blocks aren't here, they bounce up and down, which slows down the process and doesn't allow the water to push them all the way off the edge. What this system will do, though, is allow for this platform to have no water on it for about 2 minutes, which will allow the raid to spawn in and not have the raid fail. The last piece to finish up this part, though, is to connect it to the control room, and we don't have that built or any of the other mob farms. So we need to do that part first. I've got the first mob farm built and connected it up to the arena. You can see here with this single mob farm, we are getting a ton of mobs on it. Definitely helps being built at the bottom of the world. And the system that I have here is very similar to what I did with the first arena that I built. The only difference is the mechanism that is used to open up the door. And I changed it up so that we have a pulse extender down here, which will open up the doors for a short amount of time, and then we have the longer timer for when the doors are going to be closed. But now we just need to duplicate this system here, here, and here. We now have number 2, number 3, and number 4. And if we stand in the center, you can see that we've got mobs spawning on all 4 platforms, and they will stay on all 4 platforms no matter where we are in the arena, which is a lot better than what I had the first time around. With the mob farms in place, we can now start figuring out how to get the power from down here up to where the pillagers are. Initially, my idea was to build a whole torch tower going all the way up, and then we would figure out a way to use trip hooks and string to stretch across to where the pillagers are. But then I was thinking about it, and I came up with an idea that I think will work pretty well, and we can have it go up the center area instead of over where the mob farms are. And this system makes use of wind charges to send a signal all the way up to the top, and you can see we can have all of the wind charges go up And then once they reach the top, we'll have a signal up there, which will go up to where the pillager timer is. And I tested out a couple of different measurements in between each of these modules, and I found that having 9 blocks in between each of them resulted in the wind charges always making it to the next module to trigger the rest. If it was greater than 9 blocks, then some of the wind charges would miss, which would make this whole system rather problematic. And I think we could come up with some pretty interesting designs to decorate this with them being spaced out rather than having a massive torch tower, which I should probably get rid of so that we can start building some of the other things. We should also probably figure out what we are going to do once we get the signal up here to the top. And I think what we are going to do is have this lever here. We're going to have redstone torches up here, and because this lever is close enough, I don't think we need to have any other blocks here because it looks like every single time the lever gets activated. But we're not done with the wind charges because we do need to have a gap here. Otherwise, when the pillagers come, they are going to hit whatever's down here. So I think what we are going to do is have a gap of a few blocks here, and we will just have wind charges coming across to activate the lever here. And let's just see if any pillagers that are over here would end up hitting that lever. I think that would be the only thing we need to worry about here. So let's see what happens when this guy gets to the edge. He goes right off, and yep, I think we have enough clearance. But then I think we are back to a redstone torch tower going all the way up to the top of these platforms. We have everything built, so we can test this out. And right now we have this redstone lamp, which is off. If we go down and activate the system, that redstone lamp should turn on. So we'll just press the button here. The wind charges will go all the way up to the top, and the redstone lamp is turned on. And if we press the button again, you can see that the wind charges go up and the redstone lamp is turned off. But when this is all connected up, what will happen is this will all turn on, which will turn off this redstone torch, which will unpower this redstone and turn on the clock, which will then activate the water dispensers and send the pillagers down to where we have the arena. So far, the changes that we have made to the arena is making the arena smaller and adding in pillagers that we would have to fight. The next feature that I want to add is a system that will dispense items that will help the player. There are a couple of different ways that I think we could do this. The first one that I want to test out is to see whether or not we can remove these 2 blocks and have a little cubby where there could be items exposed so that the player could come over and collect them. So we will replace these blocks with ancient debris so that they can be removed by sticky piston. But one thing that I want to check is whether or not if we put a creeper here and have that creeper explode. Okay, that's what I was worried about. It's going to destroy the dispenser. Is there something that we can do about that? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer if we put a creeper here, if that will also destroy a dispenser. Yep. That'll destroy the dispenser. It looks like the way that we can have blocks not break is if they are down below the level where the creeper is exploding. What can we do with that? So I think if we had something like this, we could power these pistons and they would retract, exposing this dispenser, which could dispense an item on top of here. Then we would need to figure out a way to have that item recollected and put back into the dispenser if the player doesn't get it. After a little bit of testing, we can't have the dispenser here because nothing will be able to collect an item from on top of the dispenser. But if we put the dispenser off to the side and have it dispense the item into a block, we can have a bunch of blocks like this, and what will happen is that the item will end up on top of this block right here. So if we press this button, we should see the rail. It ends up over there. I wonder what will happen if we have these extended when that's dispensed. Let's try that. So let's activate these pistons. And then if we press the button, is there any items? There's no items in there. Okay. Press the button and that item ends up there if we don't have that space open. All right, let's put that there one more time. We'll press that button there. And the item ends out here. Why won't you just go where I want you to go? The solution to that problem was actually pretty simple. All I did was move the dispenser back 1 block, and we can see if we put these in here, they all end up at that spot right there. So we can collect this item. And if we go and try that one more time, the next item will end up right there. Finally. And we now have the return system all set up. The way that this is going to work is if you see here in the dispenser, we have stone. So that stone will get dispensed. It'll be on this block here. And then when it's time to collect it, this minecart will be activated. It'll go down here into this system. And we now have 2 stone back in our dispenser. Obviously, these are not going to be dispensing stone, but rather items like armor or arrows or bows or food or things like that. So it's been a little while since I recorded the last clip, and I've done a couple of different things. One thing I've done is gone through and changed out the stone here for black stone, so that way we can distinguish between the circuits that are used to open up the doors versus the circuits that are used to do this little mechanism right here. The other thing that I've been trying to do is figuring out a way to connect up these systems here that are going to be dispensing items to be collected by the player and the door system. And I've been having a lot of trouble trying to figure out what circuit I need to do to be able to connect it up. And I've had so many different ideas that I've tried. I've gone back and forth and tried different things, and nothing is working. So rather than continuing to bang my head against the wall, I'm going to take a little break from working on that and start with the decoration, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done to make this place look good. So we just about have the terraforming all completed. I've gone with a jungly vibe. So we've got a bunch of vines, we've got rocks and cliffs, and then up at the top, we've got the jungle trees all in place. Down at the bottom, I've removed all of the deep slate and tuff and gravel and ores, so that way we just have the bedrock exposed. But we don't have any of the structures in place, and I wanted to go ahead and stop because I was able to get this system figured out with some help from a friend. Over on the Project Nodinium server, there are a couple of really good redstone experts, and I was able to get the help from one of them in order to get this system figured out. So I headed over to the server and met up with Deckcraft, who was able to give me a solution to my problem, and without his help, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it. Right here is the system that he was able to help me with, and the way that it works is that when the doors are powered, it causes this piston to extend, pushing the observer out over here. But when the doors retract, that piston pulls back the observer, sending a signal into this dropper, which dispenses an item, which travels down through the webs into this hopper, and then finally into the chest here, which is read by this comparator sending a signal all the way through. So we've got some pulse extenders here, and then ultimately they come over here and pull down these pistons. And it might be easier to just see it in action. So if we put an item into that hopper, you can see that went through. If we go up here, you can see these have opened up. Here is just a placeholder item ready to be picked up by the player. And then once it's done, these retract, the item gets picked up by this hopper minecart and returned to the dispenser. And that's all made possible by this system here, which I definitely wouldn't have been able to come up with on my own. Last thing that we need to do is connect up all of the beacons, and then we will be ready to start building the structures. So I now have the beacons added in, and the way that this is going to work is that once this lever is flipped over here, it's going to send a signal down here, flipping this redstone torch off, and then that is going to deactivate this line all the way over here, which will cause this piston to retract. In here, we are going to have a bunch of items, which are going to serve as a timer for this to remain off. And then once that timer runs out, this will retract, and that will cause the beacon to activate. And if we break this redstone line over here, we should see it in action. So you can see this piston is retracting. All of the items that are in this barrel are going up this dropper tower, up into this barrel, where they are going to stay until everything is turned off over here. So once all the items are in here, that would cause this beacon to activate. And then once we turn off the system, it'll cause it to deactivate and all of the items will return to this barrel, which is an improvement on the design that I used in my first battle arena where you had to manually restock. But now that we've tested everything out, I think it's time to get started with building the structure. Let's get going. Well, this battle arena is way more challenging than the first one that I built, and it's a ton of fun as well. While fighting all of the mobs, I died a lot and ended up having to respawn and come back and get things reset. But in the end, I think we've come up with a pretty good system here. Before we go, I also wanted to show you a couple of changes that I've made since the last time. For the system that goes up to where the pillagers are, I created this opening. So we've got this dispenser here with a bunch of wind charges. We've got these buttons over here to activate it, and that sends the signal up. To activate all of the systems, we have an observer here, and if a block is placed, that triggers everything to start. If that block is removed, it turns everything off. For the items that I put into the dispensers to be dispensed, we've got one dispenser with shields. This dispenser does enchanted golden apples and potions of healing. This dispenser has 2 sets of netherite enchanted armor. And the last dispenser has weapons, so it's got enchanted swords, enchanted maces, and bows. One thing that you might notice is that this area is completely open and exposed to the sky. And for mobs like zombies and skeletons, they would burn up if exposed to the sky. So in order to keep this area opened, what I did was went all the way up to the build limit and put in a layer of shulker boxes. And by using shulker boxes, we can help prevent the mobs from burning up and have the added advantage of them not appearing when you are down in the arena. I should also add that there is a link in the description to a world download if you would like to play in this arena as well. But I think that is where we are going to leave it for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see you later.